For a whole generation, they were pretty much the soundtrack to being a teenager. They were the absolute kings of the Vans Warped Tour, and they were the voice behind one of the most unforgettable cartoon theme songs of all time. But after 25 years, the story of Simple Plan is about so much more than just being a kid. It's a story of huge success, some serious critical backlash, and, honestly, incredible resilience. So, let's dive in.
Just look at this. This is a band that has been filling up arenas and headlining festivals all over the world for years. Coming all the way from Montreal, Quebec, they really became this global symbol of that pop-punk explosion in the early 2000s. And the crazy part? They've kept that energy going for more than 2 decades.
And come on, if you owned a TV between, say, 2002 and 2006, you absolutely know this sound. They weren't just on the radio, they were the theme music for What's New Scooby-Doo, which pretty much burned their sound into pop culture history forever.
But before all the world tours and the cartoon fame, they were really just a bunch of friends in a totally different band, just trying to make it work.
Okay, so the way the band came together is actually a pretty cool story of, musical chairs. It all started back in '93, when Pierre Bouvier and Chuck Kamau started a band called Reset. But by 1999, Chuck had left and started jamming with some old high school friends. Soon enough, Pierre left Reset to join him. And then, in the final move, David Desrosiers also quit Reset to join the new group, locking in that classic lineup that would stick together for the next 20 years.
So what about the name, Simple Plan? You might think there's some deep, profound meaning behind it, but nope. They were just big fans of the 1998 thriller, A Simple Plan. Sometimes it really is just that simple.
And talk about perfect timing. This new band got together right as pop-punk was about to just explode into the mainstream. They were basically standing at the launch pad for a massive breakthrough.
Then 2002 rolls around, and they drop their debut album, and bam, it was a direct hit. Their whole goal was to make a pure pop-punk record, and these 4 singles, they became anthems for a whole generation. Songs about feeling like you don't fit in, heartbreak, your parents getting on your case. It was just lightning in a bottle.
And the success was immediate and just huge. That debut sold over 4 million copies around the world. For a group of friends from Montreal, that number is astronomical, and it's actually still their best-selling record.
All of a sudden, their music was inescapable. They had that really memorable cameo in the Mary-Kate and Ashley movie New York Minute. And of course, they gave us that iconic theme for What's New Scooby-Doo. They weren't just a band anymore. They were a full-on brand.
And you know what? They backed it all up by touring relentlessly. They were staples of the Vans Warped Tour pretty much every single year from 1999 to 2005. They were just out there grinding, honing their craft, and building this massive, loyal fan base, one high-energy show at a time. But here's where the story gets a little complicated. Because with all that commercial success, the music critics were telling a completely different story.
In fact, they literally named their 2004 follow-up album Still Not Getting Any. And that wasn't just them trying to be clever. It was a direct shot at the critics. Pierre Bouvier said at the time they felt like they'd gotten maybe 1 good review, and that was it.
So you end up with this massive divide. On one side, you've got the fans showing up in droves, buying millions of albums, voting for them to win Fan Choice Awards. But on the other side, you had critics who often just wrote them off using labels like cheesy or mainstream rock, basically saying they weren't authentic punk.
As the band got older, their story started to become about a lot more than just the music. It started to involve some internal struggles, lineup changes, and a really powerful positive mission they took on.
In 2020, there was a major shift when bassist David Desrosiers left the band for good. This came after serious allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced on social media, which ended his 20-year run with the group.
But a core part of their identity has always been about giving back. Really early in their career, they started the Simple Plan Foundation. It's a charity they founded to help young people dealing with all kinds of stuff, from poverty and addiction to mental health struggles.
And their impact here has been huge. As of late 2024, the foundation has raised and donated almost $3 million to different causes. It's a side of the band that maybe doesn't get talked about enough, but it's absolutely central to who they are.
So after a quarter of a century, what is the legacy of Simple Plan? Well, to really understand that, we kind of have to look at where they are right now.
And let's be clear, they are anything but a nostalgia act. In just the last few years, they've toured with other legends like The Offspring and Avril Lavigne. They've played to huge crowds at festivals like When We Were Young, and they've got a massive 25th anniversary tour and a documentary on Prime Video lined up for 2025. They are as busy as they've ever been.
And you can see their staying power right here. The energy, the crowd, the passion, it is all still there 2.5 decades later. They've somehow managed to hold on to their original fans while picking up a whole new generation along the way.
And yet, that old critical take still kind of lingers. Even as recently as 2013, one outlet called them the cheesiest band on the list, saying their music was written for middle schoolers. That old knock against them just never totally disappeared.
Which really brings us to the final verdict. So what are they? Are Simple Plan just relics of a very specific pop-punk moment in time? Or have their anthems about growing up earned them a permanent spot as timeless legends of the genre? After 25 years of connecting with millions and millions of fans, I guess that's the question they leave for all of us to answer.